Where the fuck do I begin? Up to 5 hours wait to vote. People who have been registered voters to their party of choice for decades being told that they're not eligible. Results being announced when only 1% of the votes have even been counted. And Maricopa County Recorder Helen Purcell giving Jan Brewer a run for her money in the Arizona Cunt of the Century contest. You know what? It makes me proud. Fucking proud to say that I was born in Colorado. Here's your damn ranch show, folks. Greetings. I am E. Adam Thomas, and welcome to That Damn Ranch Show, winner of the 2016 Failboard Awards for the most amazing... Now, you know what? Fuck the self-promotional bullshit. You're here. I'm here. Which means somewhere. And neither of us is Jon Stewart. Instead of a daily show, you're going to get a weekly, weak-ass digest of whining, whinging, and what the fuck. Tonight, we're talking about the pissant shitstorm that was the Arizona Presidential Prick Party primary, or whatever the fuck they were calling it. I say was because it took me 2 weeks to get out of the coma from trying to drink it all away, and another week to film this because, well, you deserve quality. Honestly, I haven't been this fucking embarrassed to be an Arizona resident since Evan Meekum was our fucking governor. Some of you may remember him as the fucking hillbilly fuckstick who thought pickaninny was a term of endearment for African American people. Remember the old Loveline radio show with Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew where they would play a game called Germany or Florida? It was this game where they would actually read these totally insane news stories and make listeners guess whether it happened in Germany or Florida. Oddly enough, if it involved an alligator, it probably was Germany. And because they were supposedly the most fucked up places on the earth. Well, guess what, fuckers? There's a new player in town. Yes, Arizona has systematically become the most insane fucking hole in the desert that you could possibly imagine. I'd almost suggest that they'd make a wacky sitcom out of the entire fucking state if it weren't for the fact that none of this shit is even remotely funny. Most of it centers squarely on Maricopa County, whose sheriff is so fucking ignorant and racist, even Archie Bunker would shake his head and mutter, "What the fuck is up with that cocksucker?" I'm sorry, I do a lousy Archie Bunker impression. Let's start with the basics. 2012, Maricopa County had 200 polling places available for the primaries. This year, we had 60. 60 polling places to handle an estimated 800,000 voters who turned out to have a voice in who they would end up having to settle for in November. We had one polling place for every 21,000 voters. That's trying to cram 1/3 of the total seating capacity of University of Phoenix Stadium into a fucking church or school cafeteria. Voters for both sides were waiting in line upwards of 5 hours to vote. Then thousands of them were sent away or forced to fill out provisional ballots that would then be utterly ignored in the final count. I see we're taking lessons from Alabama here.
And I followed when Governor Bentley and his administration announced plans this month to close 31 driver's license offices across the state. They include every single county where African Americans make up more than 75% of registered voters.
Exactly, lessons in vote suppression. Not only are we targeting blacks, but the vast majority of Latino neighborhoods were completely ignored as well when they decided which polling places would actually exist. So now, once again, we are somehow overshadowing Texas as the most racist fucking state in the Union. And believe me, that's a bit of a feat in and of itself. But let's face it, they were also targeting anyone that happened to have a job and had to wait until late afternoon or early evening to vote. Because just because it's our right doesn't mean we get time off to do it, right? And then with barely 1% of the votes counted, the local news media was already announcing winners, drawing more suspicion and accusations of criminal malfeasance. They weren't just giving us so fars or at this points like they normally do. They were declaring winners while the lines to vote were still wrapped around the block at some polling places twice over. People were still voting at 1 o'clock in the fucking morning. But as far as the news channels were concerned, the race was already over. So, the fix is in. Bernie has a snowball's chance in Kim Kardashian's twat of getting the nomination. And there's sure an awful lot of effort going into this whole burn block issue. Mark Twain once said, if voting was important, they wouldn't let us do it. I also do a lousy Mark Twain impression. With all the shit I've listed here, it kind of makes you wonder, holy shit, do our votes even actually count? Now that being said, Arizona and Maricopa County, in specific, have a much bigger problem. First off, we have this ignorant bitch, Helen Purcell, in charge of the county elections process.
Who's to blame for these long lines?
Well, the voters for getting in line.
Are you saying voters should have sent in ballots by mail because you're saying they're partly to blame for standing in line?
Well, no, they're not to blame for standing in line. But they went to the polling places. They could have voted early or, that was their option.
This arrogant cow had the audacity to state that the voters themselves were at fault for the egregious mess we witnessed on Tuesday. She victim blamed both Republicans and Democrats. This whole thing proved she could and will fuck up a 2-car funeral and blame the deceased. And despite what Democrats would have you believe, it was happening to voters from both parties. The whole thing was mismanaged worse than something that was mismanaged really badly. Sorry, it's been a long couple of weeks. Secondly, on the surface, there appears to be a carefully constructed plot to manufacture election results and sway the election in a criminally fraudulent manner. But you know what I think? I think only the media are actually bothering to be suave about it. I think this is how our state will always handle things. I think it all boils down to the fact that the vast majority of Arizona politicians and media icons are a bunch of drooling morons who don't know what the fuck they're doing from 1 minute to the to the next. Fuck this cough. Thank God I'm quitting smoking. Seriously, if this had been some kind of elite, covert conspiracy, it would have been covered up a hell of a lot better than this. This isn't a conspiracy. It's a fucking Three Stooges movie on the 100th to the 100th power. This is a gigantic cloud of insipidity that looms over Arizona like fallout from a nuclear fucking holocaust. This is indicative of the level of stupid I have witnessed almost yearly in Arizona ever since I moved here in 1986. This honestly even beats the 1999 Maricopa anti-litter campaign. Remember when they stacked all of the discarded tires on the side of the road, to make a point, I guess, on top of one another until we had 12 feet high tire totems teetering at the edge of the freeway as in sitting there in the breakdown lanes where we need to pull over when we have a flat tire. Seriously, get that man Minecraft and maybe we can handle the rest from here. You know what I mean? So, You may be asking, what's the big answer? Big answer is we have only ourselves to blame for where we are now, and we will only have ourselves to blame in the future if we don't punch this process in the taint right here and now. There's a guy that said he wasn't voting because he didn't want to give validation to the process. Unless you are running for office to fix the issue, you are validating the process. He also said, blaming the non-voter for problems caused by voting is like blaming the Amish for the gas shortage. I am blaming you! Silence is acceptance. You are not standing up and saying, fuck this shit, our votes do count, because look at the rest of the country. The media is trying to yell over us. States are insisting on a second or even third form of voter ID, and then closing polling places. Our vote apparently matters enough. Please, just spread the word about this show to whomever you can and make me a major celebrity so I can afford to move out of this spoiled jockstrap of a state. I don't have an answer for you about the election. It was a clusterfuck from the get-go, and we have nobody to blame but ourselves. Evan Meekum, Jan Brewer, and whoever the fuck else thinks they're smart enough to run for office in the state of Arizona. Don't like what I have to say? Like what I have to say, but you don't like my cheesy-ass desk? Comment right here on YouTube. Or email me at boritom@gmail.com. Or look us up on Facebook. You can, and I'm on Twitter too. God, I'm fucking everywhere. Just look me up. I'll get you some smarts yet. Good night, America. And as an Arizonan, we're also sorry about David Spade. And fuck you and your bulbous disease goat ass, Arizona. Good night. Angry Men Reviews. Many fucks said, no fucks given. Dirty fuck! Not one of my best because I kind of fucked up a few times, but the hell with it. I'm fucking sweating pigs. I'm sweating actual pigs. There are actually pigs coming out of my forehead, dropping on my desk and running around going, wee!